Guys, welcome to Limitless with AZ. We are back for another episode. Thank goodness. With me, as usual, I've got our co-host, the voice of the people, Christina. How are you? Welcome.
Hey, Zogs. I'm good. It's good to be back.
Yeah.
Excited to have our chat today.
Yeah. So, the last episode, we'll get right into it, I guess. Last episode, we were talking about the retreat that we just had and some behind the scenes stuff that took place there. We also had Danny, who was one of the participants in the retreat, join us. In that episode, we talked about potentially in this episode, the next one being this one, we can talk about some of the things that have been taking place behind the scenes from the moment of me, starting to give all my coaching content away for free. One of the parts of the business that we haven't actually talked about is how that actually impacted my team. I've talked about, the impact that's had on me, the impact that's had potentially on a client who's now receiving these content, which is awesome. Like I actually catch up with, I make myself available to catch up with all the people who are watching all the content that I'm releasing for free on YouTube. I catch up with them once a week on Zoom. However, there has been an impact on the team. And I guess the biggest impact, because we spoke about how it impacted Leah, who's our boss lady, if you like. She kind of runs the show, our operation manager. She's got many titles, Leah. So, but obviously she talked about, well, how are you going to pay me? If we're going to do these programs for free. And anyway, long story short. The facilitators, and you're a facilitator. You're an AZ facilitator. You've been doing that with me for a while. Anna, there's other people, Kira, who were actively running groups at that time. And when I decided to give away the program for free, when I say the program, the coaching content for free. And also then make myself available for Q&As on these Ask AZ calls, it basically removed the role of the facilitator. So because the facilitators would actually facilitate coaching groups, small coaching groups of up to 10 people who would be going through these coaching modules. And then when I made it available for free, well, no one wants to pay after that, which is totally normal, right? So yeah, that was a process. I mean, first of all, let me ask you, because you were right at that point about to fill up a new group. There was also Kira, there was also Anna. These are how did you feel when I actually said to you or to the team, hey guys, I just really want to, it made the facilitator role redundant. I've got you here. I might as well ask you. Let's start there. How did it make you feel?
Yeah, well, look, I don't want to sound like I'm just saying what the conscious answer is, but I've been doing this work with you for a long time, and I just really felt like the power in your decision. And I felt like for me, it didn't change anything for me. And while it may have changed, okay, now I have to kind of switch gears and I'm not about to facilitate a group, it didn't change anything for me. And I don't know how to really explain that other than I just knew that it would show up in a different way, whatever my role was meant to be, because I knew I was meant to be part of it somehow and continue to be part of this work and sharing it because I love it. And so it just, I don't know, it didn't cause a big ruffle in my feathers, so to speak, at the time.
Okay, cool. Well, a little bit about my process, and these podcasts are, about my process or my, behind the scenes stuff. For me, just to revisit really quickly, I really wanted to remove any parameters or any an existing model when it comes to me sharing this work. I didn't want to I'm putting my finger on it, but I didn't want to. The facilitation model was a model. I wanted to remove any models and let this land the way it's meant to be landing. Because many times I've built what I have. I've been doing this for over 15 years. There's always a business model. There's always a marketing model. And I really, when it comes to this work and sharing this with people, I really just wanted to remove that business model and remove that marketing model. And part of that business model was me having facilitators, and then the facilitators would also work with the clients. So the facilitators will work with new clients, and I would work with more, the clients who have advanced themselves further in the work a bit more. But you see, that's something I built, and when I say I built, it's like, oh, okay, well, you see, when I say I built that, I, as the part of me, as you see, I like to call it the I as the identity, right? Which is limited, and then there's the I that's infinite. To me, that model is still limited. It's structured, and I wanted to tap into the unstructured. Anyway,
can I ask though, how did you know that it was like the little you that had built the model? How did you realize that?
Yeah, and when we say the little you, it's not completely the little me. The little me is little Amir, and we talk about the little me and the big me. The big me being the infinite me, the little me being the what we often refer to as the drop of the ocean versus the ocean. Rumi, the great Persian poet, says we are not the drop in the ocean, rather we are the entire ocean in that drop. And when it's the big you, you're being the entire ocean in the drop. And when it's the little you, you're the drop in the ocean. So how did I know it was, and it's not completely that it was completely done by the little me, but I'm still, see, there's a thing I call the way of the world and the way of the one. The way of one is all about you connecting with yourself as the one. It's you as the one infinite energy, right? The way of the world is you're bound by what we call cause and effect. We're bound by what we call duality. Of everything, there's two. So, you have success, you have failure, you have right, you have wrong, you have good, you have bad. Of everything, there's two. And there's laws that bound this. There's the law of balance. Like everything is in complete balance. It's Newton talked about every action has an equal and opposite force. You can't break these. These are our physical universal laws, if you like. So I just know that when I do something that's really from the real Amir, and when I say the real Amir, we're talking about the big Amir. Oh, man. It's just different, it's, I don't want to sound woo-woo here, but you're not bound by the laws of duality. the way things unfold is like, for example, I might be losing some people here. What is he talking about? In duality, or in our physical reality, if you want to run a business, well, you got to do some marketing, right? You do some marketing, you put money into it, there's effort there, and then you get a result, right? That's cause and effect, right? I right now am not doing any marketing. Although someone might say, oh, well, what you're doing right now is marketing. You're putting your videos out there. Perhaps that's not why I'm doing it, though. I'm doing it purely because I feel to. This is what I feel is the next step. Now, perhaps that might be received in a positive manner or a negative manner. Perhaps nobody would ever pay for any of my programs because I've released all these programs for free. I don't care. That's not why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it with a reason and an agenda to get me this result. That's the difference. You're doing it because that's what you feel to do. I'm doing it because I love to do that. So I know that makes no sense in typical business, in the typical business world, and it would challenge people, what I'm saying, but that's what I'm doing. That's what I'm not doing any marketing. I'm not doing any. If there was to be facilitators for me again, it will happen. But I've undone it. I've undone all the different models, my business model, my marketing model. I've undone them. I've undone the screws and taken it all apart. And now I'm letting it be built how it's meant to be, without any of my influence. All I'm doing is showing up. I'm sharing what I'm sharing. I'm continuing to do what I feel to do. And if there is a role for facilitators, for example, to come and work with me, just to talk about that one particular part, there will be. But it won't be because I put that into place. It will be because I felt moved to do something because I'm following my feeling, and by doing that, there was something put in place. You see, I'm not playing the role. I'm not playing the cause and effect, which is the matrix. Cause and effect is the matrix, But if you look at love, and when you love someone or love something, it's not bound by cause and effect. The love that's real is only one energy. It's not bound by duality. If you say, well, love, that love that is real does not have an opposite. For something to be bound in duality, it must have an opposite. And someone might go, well, love, the opposite of love is hate. Yeah, that's not the real love. That's a love that has a reasons, right? And, and it's a huge conversation. I did a podcast a little while ago, way back ago, actually. Now it feels like over a year ago, where we did When Love Becomes Real. And it was a 2-part series that we did, that podcast. And I'd recommend for someone to go back and listen to that if they're intrigued about that. But to me, the difference is, I've spoken about my mantra that I teach people. Yeah. There's nowhere to be.
Just on the last episode, yeah.
Well, there you go. Just on the last. Yeah. Okay, great. There's nowhere to be. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to accomplish. There's nothing to figure out. I am moving from that space when it comes to building whatever there is to be built here. I'm purely following what I feel to do, and someone one day will look at that and go, wow, that was really great marketing, what you did, but that's not why I'm doing it. Or maybe one day it might be very profitable. And someone will go, wow, that was a great business model. I know that's going to happen, right? That's not why I did it. I undid the business model, right? Yeah. I'm undoing it. I've been doing this for 15 years, and I've got to a place where it's almost like I feel like I've got 90% there, and there's just this 10% on my journey. I mean, don't get me wrong, our journey's never finished. We keep going deeper and deeper. But it's just 10% where I just, because my background is entrepreneurial, if you like, or, I've been, I've had some business experience in promotions and marketing. And so, I just needed to undo all that. I need to no longer lean on that part of me that uses that structure or that model to attain a result. I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to do what I feel to do and let the result land.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. That's how I'm playing it.
Really powerful. And it's leaving me with like some questions here. One is like, I'm curious about the process of, coming to that decision to undo the models and give it away for free and just kind of let the facilitation model and all of that kind of fall away.
Yeah.
But then also I'm very curious about like now that you've done that, like how you're feeling and like what's been happening. So I don't know where you want to go with that.
Yeah. Well, really good question. I mean, as soon as I did that, I started to realize where I had an attachment. First of all, I just want to say, I love sharing this work, right? I mean, I can't hide that. I love sharing this work. But what I love more than sharing this work is sharing it with other people by my side who also love to share this work. Hence the idea of me, I've always wanted to build a model where I have facilitators working with me. I didn't want to do this by myself. I wanted to share this journey. As a pilot, I love to share the experience of taking people up for, aerobatic flights. That's what I love. I mean, I've got my own airplane, but I don't want just to own my own airplane. I want to have a business. So I have an aviation business where I actually get to take people up. But what I love more than taking people up for flights is when I bring my wingman or woman and we get to fly in formation together and take two passengers up and we get to do that together. You see? So I think that we're not here to hold on to, I think we're here to experience what we have to give, I think Picasso is the one who said that the meaning of life is to find your gift, and the purpose of life is to give it away. So it's about giving away your experience. It's about sharing your experience. So there's my aviation world, but bring this back to my coaching world. I love to share this work, but I love it more when I get to share it with someone else who also is sharing it. So coach/facilitator. So I found when I actually gave away all my content and actually undid my model, I found a little hidden agenda, which I didn't even know I had before. And that little hidden agenda comes in the form of an attachment. And I realized that I had always tried to build this model to build train facilitators who would then work with me. Now, you would think from a business model, that's because I get to leverage the work, which means it becomes more profitable. That wasn't it. Although that was happening, it was leveraging the work, and there was I had facilitators who would facilitate when I'm not facilitating, and, they would take, maybe half of the money. So, sure, you from a business model, it was working great. But that's not why I did it. I love to share the work with other people who love to share the work. That's what it was. So I had this attachment that, and I would always try to make this model work for the facilitators, you see? And the facilitators will look, I had to fill up their groups. That was one of the biggest things. A facilitator is ready to start a new coaching group, but they've only got 2 people. Well, they can't start with 2 people. They need to have 10 people. Like blah, or the money. So there was always something that I was always trying to fix, improve, or change around that model to satisfy the facilitators, because I thought to myself, well, I love to share this work with people who love to share this work. But you see, I came up with that model. I as the identity, the love to share this work with people who love to share this work, that comes from I as the infinite. That's the real love. But what I built to be able to experience that, I as the part of me in cause and effect, the part of me in duality is the part that built that. And when I removed this, when this started for me in 2024, I just give all the programs away, dismantle the business model, dismantle the marketing model. The first thing that I realized is, first of all, I dismantled the people, like Christina, you were one of the facilitators. Suddenly, the opportunity for the facilitators was no longer there. So some of the facilitators fell away because it's like I told them, well, go and do your own thing. You know, you're a big boy, you're a big girl. Go put your big boy and big girl pants on and go and just go. The role has become redundant. And when I did that, you know, and I'm trusting the process. You know, I'm doing the very thing that I love. But there's a difference between loving something and you find what you love to do versus I need to do what I love, or I need to have this model, right? There's this, you see, it's just a slight little hook that's attached there, and that hook is an attachment. And the most wonderful thing I've realized that's happened is that, well, the people who were meant to walk away and go and do their own thing, they have. But the people who were here for a different reason, or for the real reason, or for no reason, whatever you want to call it, right? The infinite reason, right? They're still here. Christina's still here. Anna's still here. Kira's still here. Do you know what I mean? Like they're still, I still, and it just, you know, it landed for me, and I was just like, wow, I could see that I had this attachment, and I built that model in order for me to get to do this with other people, where if I was trusting the process completely, I would do what I feel to do. And if those people are meant to be there, they will be there. We just ran a retreat. All my facilitators that are still working with me were there. You, Anna, Kira, we all ran that retreat together in Australia. You know, there's no model there. You weren't required to be there. You didn't have to be there. You weren't getting paid to be there. There was no model. The role became redundant. So now you were there because you fucking wanted to, because you love it, because your real reason. Do you understand? And I was just like, wow, this is what I'm talking. And there's no attachment, there's no expectations, there's nothing. Sure, Christina, if you want to do that, sure. Like Christina, you came up with ideas and different things that you wanted to do. You know, we were at a retreat back in October. We were in Portugal. Christina, you came up to me and said, you've got your video guy here, your videographer, which is Jared. Do you mind if I use him to film? I want to film a little documentary I feel to do. I was like, yeah. Did I ask Christina to do it? No. Was there a financial arrangement? No. Right? Christina did it because she felt it. Did money come in her hands? Probably. Might have come from me, might have come from somewhere else. That's the part no one gets. That's the part. Do you understand? Because we're always in duality. When our view is limited to only see through duality, we only see the money, right? Or the opportunities come from cause and effect. Cause and effect meaning I do this for work, I do this for my business, and when I get this result, I then get paid for it. Now, some will listen to this and go, is there another world outside of that?
Right.
Well, are you telling me, is there another world outside of the Matrix? Heck yeah. Yes, there is. But it's not as easy as swallowing that red pill, is it? There's work to be done. There is, and that's the work I share with people. You know, the retreats that I run today, the content that I release for free, on YouTube, making myself available to coach some of those people for free. You know, it's
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you're reminding me of something you said on the last podcast as well to me, where you were like, do you remember when you came to me and said, I'm not going to trade my time for money anymore? And like, do you mind talking about that? And I was like, sure. But it's also like, that's like the outside of the matrix kind of stuff sometimes, where it's like, it's not as easy as just taking a red pill. Like, I've been doing years of work to get to that point, to even be able to say that and really know that for myself. But I was doing other kinds of work for you. It was and it's not that it's like work that I'm actually, I think I'm good at and I enjoy to an extent, but like I noticed where sometimes like it would get like heavy at times. Like I don't know how else to explain it other than like it wasn't flowing, you know? Like I was noticing like it wasn't flowing, it didn't feel as free. And I had that conversation with you, and
how many times have you quit with me? How many? We worked this out this morning. I thought it was twice, and then you pointed out, no, it's actually 3 times I've quit.
It's 3 times, yeah, because I worked with you a long time ago, and
over
then
10 years ago, and then you came back, and then in the last, I don't know, 12, 24 months, you've quit twice. And here we are still. You know, we don't have any contract arrangement with each other right now. We still work together.
Yeah, and I cannot tell you like how much things shifted for me after that moment, after I made that decision that I was like, I'm not going to trade, you know, but it didn't mean that then I didn't feel to do work. Like after that happened, I ended up, because that video footage that I took in Portugal sat for a while, like, and it was like after I had made that decision, I was like, oh, I really feel to put my energy into this video project. And it just so happened that then Jared happened to have the time to work on it. And then Anna, who's also on the team, like wanted to partner up and work on it together. And that just like flowed. And I just loved every second of it. But it wasn't about trading time for money. It felt just so joyful. And then, you know, I always knew that I was going to be at this retreat in Australia, and, you know, but I didn't know that I would have a role there other than like, I'm part of the team, but like, it wasn't like an official role. And it just flowed. It was just, it was so joyful to be a part of it. And I just think back on the times where, you know, I was attached to my role in some form of like whatever work I was doing for you. And it, you know, even though it's like the work that I love and I'm being a part of this thing that I love, like it can still become heavy because of, you know, like you said, the way that, you know, you start to view it or see it as like your survival. It's like about surviving, you know?
I'm
so
doing
that means
this to survive, to get paid. And I know I'm just putting myself in the shoes of someone hearing us having this conversation. And it's like, what the heck? Well, if we don't swap time for money, then what are we doing? You know, I mean, is there anything outside of swapping time for money? And I'm not here to, you know, answer that in this podcast. This is just more about the behind the scenes. But maybe if you feel like there must be another way, then go to my YouTube videos and start by doing that Limitless program, and then there's the truth bumps that get released every 1 to 2 weeks. Go and chip away and answer that question for yourself. Because right now, what Chrissy is sharing, it's like, well, so you're telling me Chrissy didn't want to swap for time for money. So then she quit with you, and then she still worked and just did the things that she enjoyed to do. There was no expectation. And well, how did she make money? Right? Well, she still got paid, or there was still money showing up in different forms. This is the part that most people, you know, like, I don't want to get into content. So that's, I think my directing people to the YouTube is probably the best thing to do. And so that way, this allows us to keep it as behind the scene conversations.
Yeah. Well, this process has been really powerful for me because I feel like it comes down to like the real like crux of your work, which is like asking yourself those really powerful questions, where like I had gotten to this point where I was like, I do not like it, it's like if I keep going the way I'm going, like it's like a slow death, you know what I mean? Like this is not why I'm here. So then I ask myself the question, like, why am I really here?
What do you mean by if I keep going the way I'm going? It's a slow death.
Going in the I'm just surviving. Like I'm doing the things for survival, and it's like, then it's like you ask yourself those questions, like, why am I really here? Like did I come here just to survive? Like just to, you know, it's like, oh, but now I'm even doing what I love, but I'm doing it for survival. And I started to, you know, it's not that I haven't asked myself those questions, but it was like, you know, I've put in the work over the years, and it was like, it was a deeper level. And I just was like, okay, why am I really here? And if I know that I'm going to be okay, because part of what this work has supported me to know, like deep in my being, that I know that I'm going to be okay. And like, why would I love something, or why would I feel something if it wasn't meant for me? Like I knew I was going to be okay. And so, you know, sometimes we have to do the work to get to that point, like to really know that, to be comfortable in that discomfort. And that was just a really powerful process for me. So Limitless is, yes, like start there, and that's where some of those questions get you started, right there, that program.
And look, let's be honest, you've been doing this work on yourself for years. You know, it's not like you know, you started yesterday. And but even that, but what you've said something that I want to highlight is really powerful for anyone, even if they aren't doing the work, you know, on themselves. You know, and I would say this often to someone who even doesn't understand any of the work that we're talking about. But often in our life, we get backed into a corner, or we are at the edge of a cliff, metaphorically speaking, and we feel like, you know, everything's about to fall apart. The floors just disappeared. And, you know, whether it's a financial crisis or a health crisis or family, a relationship breakup, there's some things that happen in our life, and we just think to ourselves, how am I going to get through this, right? But this is, if I reflect back in my life, even if I don't know any of this work, and if you reflect back in your life, how many times in your life has the floor disappeared? Or have you been backed in the corner? Or are you at the edge of the cliff and you can't see how you're going to get to the other side, right? How many times have you been like that and you got to the other side? And the floor disappeared, but then you realize you were floating or flying rather than falling. Do you know how many times in your life that you thought I'm in trouble here. This is such a tough time and I don't have the capacity to deal with this, but you do. But you do deal with it, but you do get through it. What happens is that when you do get through to it, your ego identity, I for identity, comes in and hijacks how you got through it. It always comes and goes, oh, I got lucky. Well, I met the right person, or the right opportunity land. Well, I found the person I love, or I found this job came to me. And you give it away. You instead of actually taking a moment and going, wow, and actually acknowledging and realizing that you got through that, your identity is going and saying, we got through that because. And it's giving your power away because of that. And you never remember it, you never, but if you actually stop and reflect back to your life, how many times have you've been against that, that corner, that rock in the hard, what do they say? The rock in the hard wall?
Rock in a hard place, is that right?
Whatever. Those difficult times, but you always, and this is what I tell people, you always get through it. It's as much as you're like, no, this, I can't get through this. This is like, no, you can. Yeah. Because what I know as a human being is that we will never create or be given an opportunity or a difficulty that we didn't have the capacity to deal with. So whether it's that you're in a difficult place, you have that capacity. Even though you think, I can't deal with this, you can. Because if you couldn't, you wouldn't be given it. But it's the same also for an opportunity. We get opportunities to rise. We get opportunities or feel inspired to do something, to start a business or whatever it may be, fall in love, be in a new relationship, start a family, whatever that may be. But then we think to ourselves, but I don't have the capacity. I don't know how to do that. I don't know. I'm too old. I don't know. I don't have enough money. It's just like, dude, if you got the feeling and the inspiration, it means you do have the potential. It's like when sometimes someone gets a job and they think to themselves, I can't do the job. You got hired because someone thinks you can. You can do it. You went through an interview process and you got hired. You were the chosen person. That means you can do it. So it's the same whether it's a job or an opportunity in life. Anything that comes to you, you have the capacity to do it. You just got to step forward. So whether it's an opportunity or a difficulty, it's the same. You wouldn't create a difficulty that you don't have the capacity to deal with. Even though your identity, your ego comes and goes, I can't deal with this. Yes, your ego can't deal with it. And if you can just let go, there's a part of you that comes through and it's like suddenly you feel connected and you can. And the possibilities are there. So I just want to kind of add that. I mean, that doesn't matter if you do this work or not. And furthermore, if I may just add a little bit more, Christina, for those people who are sometimes having difficult moments and they think to themselves like, I can't get through this, just know not only can you, but you will, and that you can, because if you couldn't, it wouldn't be given to you. That's one thing I'll say to you. And you're like, well, how do you know that? Well, because you're experiencing it. Like go back and look at your life. How many times did you think you couldn't and you did? How many times did you think your whole life is falling apart, but you got through it? How many times? It's happened, lots. But your ego comes and takes credits and it's going, oh, it's because of that or it's because of this. No, it's because you have the capacity to go through it. So one other thing I want to just add for our listeners today is that, and I often have coaching clients and I'm helping them through this. How many times in your life have you gone through that difficult time that you didn't think you could get through? Whatever it may be, that financial crisis, that health crisis, that relationship breakup, whatever that it may be, there was a point you went through that you at the time thought to yourself, someone please take this pain away, right? And then you got through it. And years later, days later, months later, I don't know, there's a point where you, on reflection, you think to yourself, I wouldn't change a thing. How many times have you said, if I had to go through that again, I would do that? And you're like, but in the moment, you didn't want that. Yeah, but I didn't know it was going to lead me to this, into who I am today, into meeting this person, or into this opportunity falling in my lap. I didn't know that. And that's when I say to them, well, this difficult time right now that you may be going through, you don't know where it's leading you. And that's why it's difficult. But one day you'll reflect back and you would say the same. I wouldn't change a thing, because that, as dreadful, as terrifying, as, the anxiety that you felt, the attachment, whatever the experience was, people would always say the same. They reflect back and go, I wouldn't change a thing. And if you're someone that's going, I've had plenty of things that I would say I would change, it's because it hasn't brought you to the moment that it's planning to bring you to. You haven't received your gift. You haven't received your lesson from it yet. But if everything has a gift, those. So, I kind of just want to add that, because I know our conversation has been somewhat deep. At the beginning, we talked about the cause and effect, and we talked about the way of the world and the way of the one. Someone might be listening to that and going, what? And I just want to kind of bring it back to a little bit of groundedness to give you just something that whether you listen to my work or you're doing this work, you could still comprehend.
Yeah. No, I love what you shared there, and it's bringing me back to like, it's funny because I had a feeling to say it's been such a gift actually, and like thank you for the gift of what you did when you dismantled the model. Like, look at what I've gotten from it. Like, you'd think I look back like, oh, thought I was going to fill up a group and that was going to be a source of income. And, because I wanted to say, like, I relate to where you're saying, like, if you're in that place where you don't know how it's going to work out. Like, I didn't make that decision in the time of like, abundance and certainty. Like, I made that decision, in a time where I was like, okay, the floor it's like disappeared beneath me. But just looking back on the process now, I feel so much appreciation. It felt like such a gift that you followed your feeling to do that. And then what it gave me as one of your team. Like, I just, yeah.
Yeah,
So.
well, like I always say, when you do what's true for you, you actually impact those and for them to experience what's true for them. The more you have the ability to live what's true for you, the greater your ripple effect to the people close to you. So, I mean, watch this space. I mean, I'm filming this behind the scene kind of style podcast as we go. We just finished my retreat. This is 2 weeks later. These are live, kind of almost like a diary recording of what's happening. I bet something will happen one day. Maybe in a year or 2 years or something, and you'll be like, wow, this was genius marketing model, genius business model, whatever. There'll be something because people give credit to how it happened, right? And then you can go back and look at these podcast recordings and go, wow, he really didn't know. He was totally in the unknown, and he just dismantled a part of his business that was bringing a majority of some of the income. Do you know? Like, do you understand? Like, it's like, don't get me wrong. Like, I still have clients who pay me for coaching. I still have retreats and all that. But I've dismantled the part that actually feeds into that. Not only have I dismantled marketing, got rid of any marketing consultants that was working with us, got rid of all the marketing, Facebook ads, Instagram. Don't want it. I don't want it. I've dismantled all that, but then I've dismantled if you like, in my business model, what do they call it? The sales funnel, like the part that feeds the high-paying clients. Where do you think the high-paying clients come from? The clients that come and do retreats with me. Where do they come from? Do they come from people doing free events? No. No.
Right. Yeah.
Usually the people doing free events, they like it to stay that way, free, and I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy to support them. I'm happy to support as long as they're there and they're getting somewhere. I love that. Okay, good. All right, but there's some clients who want that more exclusive. Want that more, premium, and they're willing to pay for that, and I'll work with them. But what I'm saying to you is, I've just that the part of the business that would feed into that, I've broken it, dismantled it. They would come from my facilitators. How many people come and they start working with the facilitators, and then they get to a certain level and they want to work with me? Well, there's none of that anymore. Not in the model, because I dismantled the model. Let's see what happens. To be continued.
Yeah, watch the space.
Watch this space. But I mean, not watch this space, but watch what's going to happen. Like, I just love that we're recording this, because this is real. It's behind the scenes. It's real. I'm saying it how it is. And that's why we call it behind the scenes. And I just, one day, something may happen, and someone can come back and watch this whole story of how this evolved, and they'll be like, wow, this is 3 years later. They come back and listen to this podcast and go, wow, he really didn't like have a clue what the next step was even. He was following, and that's why I love to share this. It's because what happens, people don't see, the journey. They always see the end result. They see Michael Jordan and who's the greatest basketballer ever, but they didn't see all the failures. They didn't see the process he went through. Or I'm not saying I'm going through failures, but right now I'm giving an opportunity for the people one day to reflect back and go, not even one day, even in this moment. Someone's listening to this right now in this moment, going and getting ideas and insights for themselves in their life, right? All I'm saying is that when it comes to love, you can't structure it. You can't put a price on it. And that's all. I mean, I'm not giving it free flights in my aviation business, right? Although I do often. But honestly, even in my aviation business, I play the same. It's not like I'm giving away all my flights, but I'm not trying to. We've even stopped marketing in my aviation business. But anyway, we could just keep going. But what do you think? Are we?
I think
landing. Are we?
I think we've come in for our landing, and I think that I'm excited to keep continuing this conversation of behind the scenes stuff, because I think it's just, I love that we've really found what the podcast is about, because even then we were like showing up and we're like, what are we going to talk about today? And then I think we still do that. Like, we didn't exactly know what we were going to talk about today. It's not structured, but I think we're really starting to find what this podcast is about, which is these behind the scenes, unfiltered, raw. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, when I decided to give all the content away for free, I shot myself in the foot with the podcast, because with the podcast, I would share content on the podcast that would then allow people to come and do the coaching programs, perhaps, right? But when I started giving all the coaching away for free, I was like, well, what's the podcast about now? I'm not going to go and talk about more coaching. And we just started doing some recordings. And before we know it, it was only like about 5 or 6 episodes ago, we realized, this is behind the scenes. This is, and we refrain from going into content. That's why there's parts of today's recording where I was almost going into content. And I was just like, nah, go and find that content on YouTube. It's there. You can go and watch it. Yeah. Rather than me try to explain what the real love is. So yeah.
Well, and even like there was a couple of weeks where we didn't record because it wasn't there. Like we were, it's like you don't force it. There's nothing. It's like, it's the plan is unfolding, as you say, and so I love where it's going, and we'll see what comes on the next episode. Yeah. Very good. So thanks for the chat today, Zogs. I have to say I share your love for the team and getting to share this and sharing it with other people who want to share it. It's just very near and dear to my heart as well. So thanks for this chat.
We should invite some of the other members of the team one day to join us on a podcast. Sometimes maybe they can see some behind the scenes of why does Leah work with us? What drives her? What is Jared? We have Leah, we have Jared. What is Kira? What is Anna? Like there's all these team members who, why do they do what they do? And you've got team members who are on salary and full-time salaries, and you've got team members who are not. Chrissy refuses to work with me. Sorry, Chrissy refuses to work for me. She's still working with me, but she refuses to work for me. So it's like, cool. Do what you feel to do, Christina.
Yeah. I'd love to hear from some other team and some, who knows, we might have other, folks in and around the work as well. It was great to have a guest, so we should definitely do that again.
Yeah, and apologies for not having his recording. His mic didn't record. So if anyone watched that, his audio is not the best quality, but...
These are the things that happen, but well, as always, we love to hear from you guys as well. So if you have anything any questions or any feedback, you can always make a comment on the YouTube where this is posted, or send an email to askaz@amirzoghi.com. So love to remind people of that. I don't think we've shared that on the episode recently, but we do love to hear from you guys. So, and yeah, thanks again for sorry.
I was going to say, well, they might have a question around some behind the scenes stuff. Like
exactly.
If you got a question, well, how are you dealing with this, Amir? How are you doing? And I can answer it on a podcast.
Yeah. There could be a follow-up to something. Yeah.
As long as it's behind the scenes stuff. If it's content, just ask me join my free membership. It's called Live It. It's on my website. And I do weekly calls on Zoom. So, I have a WhatsApp group in there as well, and people ask me questions on the WhatsApp. I'm responding. Like, it's not just once a week. I'm offering this service for free. On a daily basis, I'm actually responding to people's questions on the WhatsApp group. So, if you've got questions around the content or about coaching or about, how do I deal with this, etc., join the Live It series. Like we said, it's free there. But if you do have a question around the behind the scenes and, how are you dealing with your business in this? How are you, etc. Some things.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you clarified that. Yeah. And I'm just sitting here I almost forgot. I'm like, oh yeah, the Live It series, it's so great. People have access to that. We haven't been plugging anything. Like, oh my God, I forgot. You can go and be coached directly with Amir if you want.
Yeah. So. The podcast is just behind the scenes. It's sometimes people want to hear the real life story, and I'd love to share the real life story, and say, well, this is, this is what's happening for me right now, and this is what's unfolding, and we'll come at this. It's seriously like it's a diary. It's a diary session. It's a,
Yeah.
But
well, thanks for sharing. What you've shared today about your process, and looking forward to the next episode.
I look forward to it too. Thanks, Christina.
Right. Thanks, guys. See you on the next one.
Hey, guys, well done. You've just completed this video. How do you feel? I'm just here just to remind you that in order for me to continue to support you, it's important for you to continue to support this work. Please like this video and also press subscribe, and remember to press the bell icon as well so you get notified every single time I release a video. I'm going to be releasing so much content here that's going to support you. If you're looking for something even more, like you're looking for a community to be part of, some extra support, some extra coaching, you're looking to share your journey with other people, then go ahead and visit my website at amirzoghi.com, and there'll be some information there on how you can be more involved. Also, I read all the comments. I'd love to hear your experience. I want to release these videos for you. I want to support you. I love to see how it's landing for you. What's your experience of the videos? Do you have any questions? So remember to comment below, and I'll be responding to those messages as well. Thanks, guys. I'll see you on the next video.